morning, Andrew. How are you doing since about 2 hours ago?
I'm very well, thank you, Adam. What have we done? You listened to a load of Frightened Rabbit, that were good, and we just
We had a dance, a socially distanced dance, didn't we? Like, it's been a great morning. I've been doing emails. Andrew's been editing. Let's take a look at the headlines. Vince McMahon is reportedly upset with WrestleMania 37 matches being leaked. A former WWE star has made his return with an incredible new look. And Rob Van Dam has discussed his relationship with WWE and what fans can expect to see next. We'll tell you more in a bit. So, Vince McMahon is not a happy boy because people are talking about what matches might happen at WrestleMania 37. So Vince, if you're watching this, and I know you are, maybe take a load off. Go and pump some iron. Maybe take some Ico Pro, eat a steak wrap, but don't watch this video because we're about to talk about what matches might happen at WrestleMania 37. This has come from a report from Ringside News that's been backed up by WrestlingNews.co. The original report stating that WWE are keeping most WrestleMania plans a secret this year, and many talents don't know what they're doing, if anything, on the show, especially the mid-card crew, apparently. WrestlingNews.co reached out to a source in WWE to confirm the report, which they've done, saying, yes, the story is accurate. Vince was upset when word got out that the main event for WrestleMania would be Edge and Roman. I think that was the moment when he decided not to clue in the wrestlers on future plans. So this is very different to previous years, where quite often wrestlers know what they're doing months ahead of the show itself. I thought it was quite obvious that it was going to be Edge and Roman after Edge speared Roman Reigns on SmackDown, which would surely lead to a match. No, so yeah, I think this was referring to before that spear, and there were reports circulating that it was likely going to be Edge versus Roman rather than Edge versus Drew. But you know what? You get those reports every year, and to me, this is all sort of part of the WrestleMania build. How do you feel about it, Andrew?
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me. Like you were saying, I guess it's the build and how we get to those matches is what's more exciting than anything else, especially with like The Miz and potentially him not being in the title picture at WrestleMania and stuff. Like, I find that more fascinating. Like thinking, oh, well, that person's got the belt now, but then the reported match further down the line is something completely different. So like, how are we going to get there? And that is all part of it. I think that's what gets me excited.
That's it.
These
reports happen every year, and you never really know until like the week before WrestleMania exactly what's definitely going on. This year's especially exciting because of the reports that Miz is likely not going to be WWE champion come WrestleMania, and he's going to be involved in the tag match, but that's up in the air as well because John Morrison is injured, so Miz might not have anyone to team with. As I say, like, you never know how 100% these reports are. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not, and I think it's our jobs as sort of as wrestling journalists, but also as fans, to try and figure out what's going on. And to me, as I say, that's part of the fun of being a wrestling fan, is trying to figure out what's right and what's not. Is the smarkiest thing I've ever said. Speaking of Vince McMahon, another person not happy with him right now is Jake the Snake Roberts, who's been speaking to Inside the Ropes. Hello! And talking about his feud with Jerry Lawler in 1996, and specifically that match at SummerSlam. You may remember the match. Jerry Lawler getting a bottle of whiskey and pouring it all over Jake the Snake Roberts and in his mouth, trying to like force feed him it. And it was pretty distasteful at the time. There was some controversy surrounding it just because of the real life stuff that Jake's gone through with regard to his substance abuse issues, his problems with alcohol, and Jerry Lawler had been making fun of him in promos about his recovery. So what did Jake say to Inside the Ropes?
Jake said, well, I thought it was a horrible thing for McMahon to ask me to do. It was cheap, it was disrespectful, it didn't prove a damn thing other than the fact that Vince McMahon's an arsehole. So there you go. Lawler, he's in the same boat. Both arseholes.
He's not wrong. To me, I'm going to come across as a hypocrite here because I think some of my favourite feuds in wrestling history are feuds that have combined, have combined elements of real life with kayfabe. And that can make it easier to invest and a more exciting story to tell. But I think there's a line. And when you're dealing with something which is so personal, something that has has nearly killed Jake the Snake before. He's had a hell of a life as Jake the Snake Roberts, and I think it did probably go a little bit too far.
I agree. No, yeah, it's like shades of other storylines recently with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus and stuff. Like, I get, like, as you were saying as well, hypocritical, because you're really invested when something like that happens, but then it does draw a line. And I feel like they should kind of let people move past that rather than let them dwell on it when they come back from it, you know, especially with the Jeff thing more recently, because he's literally just come back and then they're doing this weird storyline stuff.
It's so lazy with Jeff.
Yeah,
it's been done to death. Like,
so many times.
It's been done so many times. And I think even more distasteful, literally, in fact, was them using Sheamus's addiction for drinking urine for comedic effect. When he had that urine splashed in his face, you knew that it was where I overstepped a line and it was too far. So just leave that stuff behind the scenes. We all know he likes doing it, and he's not alone. Andrew, you yourself can speak as far as. Should we move on? The next story, yep. A former WWE star debuting, or returning rather, with an incredible new look. He looks so good right now. I'm absolutely chuffed for him. It's another guy who's been through the ringer. We're talking about Big Cass, or Kaz XL, formerly known as Big Cass in WWE. Where did he come back? Where did he come back?
He came back. Let me tell you where he came back. He came back in, I think it's pronounced Lariato Pro, which is owned by Luke Gallows. And I think he came in to help. I think Enzo was getting beat down by some naughty boys. And here he comes. He comes in and saves the day. But he is looking shredded, Adam. You know shredded wheat? He's more shredded than shredded wheat.
No, I'm not going to argue with that. He looks absolutely incredible. He's a guy who has, he's had a rough few years of it, and he disappeared from all of social media. This is, I believe, his first wrestling appearance since 2019. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time since we've seen the man formerly known as Big Cass, and he looks absolutely tremendous. So fair play to him, because he's been through a lot as well. After, you know, it sort of things spiraled out of control after he was released by WWE. He's also taken to social media. He's returned to social media as well, saying, after a long journey filled with an enormous amount of self-reflection, I now start my journey toward redemption. Thank you, Luke Gallows, for the opportunity, and thank you to everyone for continuing to believe in me. Hashtag straight out of step 12. I don't know what that means.
Nope.
But no, really fair play. Would you want to see him back in WWE if that's where he's got his sights set?
I would like to, because I think he's an incredible wrestler. I genuinely think he's really good. Another one like him and Enzo in WWE. Enzo's an incredible talker. We were talking about this before. You were saying that he's got amazing hot tag and everything. Like, them two together got the crowd going.
Oh, God, yeah. Their time in NXT, not so much on the main roster, but if you look at their debut on the main roster, people were so into it. So they were really, really over. And I think they were a great tag team, personally. And you know what? Cass, a guy who reportedly, on top of his own personal demons, he didn't have the best attitude backstage. He was punished for booting a little person in the face, which wasn't planned. Do you remember the Daniel Bryan angle?
Do you remember that?
Yeah. So he went off script. But I you know what? I think give him another chance and see what he can do, because the guy does have a lot of talent. So it's good to see that he's doing well. And welcome back to the world of professional wrestling. Next up, Rob Van Dam has been chatting away about his relationship with WWE on the 90s Wrestling podcast. He said that if he were to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, his first chance for inductor would be ECW boss Paul Heyman, while his second choice would be Vince himself, who apparently he still keeps in touch with. He's also talked about what we can maybe expect to see from him and WWE. Don't get too excited. It's not going to be a return to wrestling. I would be very surprised if we ever saw him do anything like that in WWE again, just because of the concussion issues that he's had, and he's also got issues with his sight, which means he's not going to be medically cleared by doctors, probably even just for like a one-off spot in the Rumble or something like that. Probably won't happen again. But he was talking about the fact that they're in the middle of making a WWE Network documentary for the WWE Icon series. Apparently that's coming out in May, so that's something to look forward to there. And he also mentioned that they've talked about potentially collaborating on a book. Potentially, I would assume, at least an autobiography or biography about Van Damme, which would be a really interesting read as well. So maybe stay tuned for that as well. I think he's, I'd love to read that. I think he's had a fascinating life.
Have you watched the Yokozuna Icon documentary as well?
Yeah, I got around to watching it this weekend.
So
Amazing.
good.
So well produced.
So well produced. So I'm excited about seeing that for Rob Van Dam too. I think that would be really, really cool. But yeah, let him do a 5-star. Let him do one more 5-star. Come on.
One more. And finally, just before we go, Heath Slater tweeted yesterday saying, in Durham, North Carolina, surgery tomorrow, say a prayer for me, baby. He had a horrible injury at Bound for Glory in the Battle Royal. It looked nasty. So he suffered rips on both sides of his abdomen wall and abductor's muscle being torn completely off the bone. What's an abductor's muscle? Is that what it's called? It sounds gruesome. Lots of tearing in poor Heath's body. So he's going in for surgery today now, tweeting yesterday. So all of us here at Cultaholic wish him the very best. And I hope you recover very, very soon. Because you're wonderful, Heath. You're wonderful. Take care of yourselves. And you too, Andrew.
Thank you.
Twitch.tv/Cultaholic.
He's got it.
6 p.m.
Should we go and do some dancing again?
Come on, let's do some.